of the many groups that Celsus discussed in his True Logos are the Ophites. Although he did not know them by that name, Celsus just considered them to be another group of Christians. It is Origen who calls this Christian group Ophite or Ophian. Who were the Ophites? They were a Christian group possibly started in the 2nd century by a man named Euphrates. They associated Christ with the salvific snake upheld by Moses in the desert, a symbol associated with healing because it resembled the staff of Asclepius. They developed the Jewish tradition of 7 archangels. Distinctively, they portrayed some of these angels in the beast-like forms of the creatures that surround the Creator's throne in books like Ezekiel and Revelation. It was the Ophites, perhaps, who first gave these 7 angels their names, mostly based on Hebrew designations for God. This is the order of the names as we find it in the Ophite diagram, beginning with Yaldabaoth, their chief, then Yahweh, Sabaoth, Adonais, Astaphius, Eloeus, and Horeus. These figures formed the first hebdomad, or group of 7, a set of beings aligned with the 7 planets known at the time. Originally, humanity was made in paradise, a heavenly location. And in paradise, Adam and Eve encountered the serpentine devil. The serpent had become wise because he was temporarily inhabited by divine wisdom. And speaking through the snake, wisdom convinced Adam and Eve to disobey Yaldabaoth by eating of the fruit of gnosis. When Yaldabaoth cursed the snake, he himself became accursed. In the context of the True Logos, Celsus was probably already thinking of the Ophites when he spoke about those Christians who discourse about a super-heavenly God in a super-heavenly realm. The goal of life is to get to this super-heavenly God, which was Father and Son for the Ophites, and to arrive at paradise where one can drink the water of life. And the way to do that is to ascend through the heavens. Jews and Christians of the Roman period had many apocalyptic texts which involved an ascent through 3, 7, or 10 heavens. The connection between 7 heavens and 7 planets was made under the influence of Greek astrology. A major motif in ascent literature is encountering danger, mostly from lesser daimonic powers in the lower heavens. The Ophites continued this tradition, and they specifically connected 7 heavens to 7 malefic planets, each with a wicked daimonic lord. This is related to Mithraism because Celsus thought that the Ophites got their 7-tiered heavens from Plato, the Persians, or the Kabiri, Kabiri being mysterious ancient gods worshipped on the islands of Lemnos and Samothrace. By Persian, Celsus evidently meant the Mithraists, since Mithras was a Persian god associated with the sun and oaths, even though, historically speaking, Mithraism as it was known to the Romans was not a Persian religion, but a Roman development. Celsus was not upholding Mithraists' models. Earlier, he accused them of unreasoned belief. He was merely trying to show how Ophite Christians ripped off the Mithraists as if one degraded form of religion pilfered a less degraded form. Mithraims at Rome and Ostia, namely Santa Prisca and Felicissimus, respectively, attest 7 grades of Mithraic initiation, some of them represented by an animal. It's not clear that all Mithraists belonged to a grade. The grades were part of the priestly hierarchy. A Mithraic priest went from Corax, the raven, to Nymphus, the male bride, to Miles, the soldier, to Leo, the lion, to Perses, the Persian, to Heliodromos, the sunrunner, and to Pater, the father. These grades were associated with the 7 planets, and the Mithraists, as represented by Celsus, were obviously familiar with Hellenistic planetary astronomy. They knew of two great revolutions in heaven: the sphere of the fixed stars moving in one direction, and the sphere of the seven wandering stars or planets moving in the other. The path of the soul was through these revolutions, and each planet was represented by a gate. Each of the gates was made of a particular metal, said to correspond with the nature of the seven planets. The eighth gate on top was evidently the doorway to a realm outside this cosmos, a realm Plato called superheavenly. The Mithraic order of the planets, as recorded by Celsus, is as follows: 1. Saturn, associated with lead; Venus, associated with tin; Jupiter, associated with bronze; Mercury, associated with iron; Mars, associated with an alloy used in coins; Moon, associated with silver; and Sun, associated with gold. This, in fact, is the order of the days of the week, going in reverse from Saturday, ruled by Saturn, to Sunday, ruled by the Sun. The Mithraists known to Celsus associated the seven grades not only with the seven planets and their metals, but with musical ratios, namely the harmonious sounds of the planets as they coasted along their circular orbits. Origen unfortunately cut short both the discussion of the Mithraic planetary order and the Mithraic musical theory, and in fact scolded Celsus for showing off his learning. Celsus's main goal was not to give an in-depth portrait of the Ophite diagram, but to compare the Mithraic ascent through the seven planets with the Ophite version of the ascent. Nevertheless, it seems clear from Origen's fuller description that the Ophite diagram was a lot more complex than the Mithraic picture of the cosmos. Scholars still debate how exactly to draw the diagram. Tuomas Razimus, in his book Paradise Reconsidered, gives several examples. Clearly, the Ophites pictured a universe with more than two revolutions. They had 10 circles, perhaps representing a 10-level cosmos, bound by a single circle representing, it seems, the world's soul, aka Leviathan. In this world picture, we humans all exist within the belly of the mythic sea dragon, an ancient symbol of chaos and God's primal enemy. Another name for our cosmos is Gehenna and Tartarus, the Greek and Jewish designations, respectively, for hell. To get out of hell, we must ascend out of this cosmos. And to do that requires a ritual in which the initiate is anointed with white oil, evidently olive oil, sanctified and said to come from the tree of life. A priest, called Father, binds or ties onto the initiate a series of seal stones, upon which are inscribed the formulas needed to get past the planetary lords. This is very much like Orphic initiations, with the gold plates. Ophite initiates, speaking in response to a formula, proclaimed the words, quote, "I have been anointed with white ointment from the tree of life." The initiate was called son or youth. The priest administered the oil, dabbing it on the forehead of the baptized in a circular motion. His name, Father, must have reminded Celsus of the highest grade of Mithraic priest. The father priest who led the rite told the initiate that at the moment of their death, 7 angels of light will stand at their right and 7 angels of wickedness at their left. The leader of these wicked angels is the creator Yaldabaoth. Part of instruction was learning the names of the wicked angels, who were also planetary rulers pictured as gatekeepers in a hierarchical relationship. The soul was thought to rise through the planetary spheres past the gates of these rulers. Knowing the names and forms of the 7 rulers secured power over them and ensured that the soul could safely sail through the heavens. As we know from Irenaeus, there was not just one group of 7 angels, but 2. Even to get to the moon, one had to pass through the lower Hebdomad, the devil's angels. The first of these was the leonine Michael. The second was Suriel in the shape of a bull. The third was Raphael, in the form of a giant snake. The fourth, Gabriel, had the shape of an eagle. The fifth, Tautabaot, had the face of a bear. And Arataot, the sixth, had a dog's visage. The seventh, Anuel, employed the head of a donkey. These 7 angels obviously all have animal shapes, much like the Egyptian gods. The initiate must learn the true name of the angel and the formula needed to surpass them. The names are typically combinations of foreign words, joined with common Hebrew suffixes like el and ot. Once one passed through these angels, one attained the barrier of evil. Crossing this barrier apparently brought one out of Earth's atmosphere, the region below the moon. In the region above the moon, the ascending soul met the rulers of the upper Hebdomad, the planetary lords. The chief of these was Yaldabaoth. To him, initiates were bid to show a symbol engraved with the mark of life, perhaps a picture of the tree of life. Yaldabaoth, like his angelic counterpart Michael, had the form of a lion and was said to be in sympathy with the planet Saturn, whose gate he guards. Origen relates short speeches and symbols recited for the 6 other planetary rulers, and at the end of each speech, the repeated locution, "Let grace be with me, Father," was probably said to the priest officiating the rite. Now, Celsus recorded what he did because he thought that Christian Ophites had ripped off Persian tradition. It was for him another example of the degradation of the true Logos. One barbarian philosophy, in this case, rips off another. In the end, however, the similarities between the Ophite and Mithraic ascent are somewhat superficial. Both were performed, perhaps, with the help of a priest called Father. Both involved an ascent through the planets, and in both systems, the planet or planetary lord of Saturn played a significant role. Upon further analysis, however, the Ophite and Mithraic views of the cosmos were very different. Ophites lived in an evil cosmos, synonymous with hell. Mithraists did not, it seems, have such a negative picture of the world. The mechanics of ascent for Ophites and Mithraists were significantly different as well. The spring feeding the Ophite imagination was the book of Genesis and, of course, Christian scripture, whereas Persian mythology fed the Mithraic tradition, or mythology taken to be Persian. Now, I don't deny that 2nd century Ophites in Alexandria could have borrowed from Mithraists, but actually they need not have borrowed directly. Christians developed their own ascent traditions from Jewish apocalyptic literature, and from what was available in the general culture, the Ophites could creatively combine astronomical learning, Hellenic philosophy, and some Egyptian iconography to produce the Ophite diagram. Both Ophites and Mithraists belonged to a common culture of utopian, Platonized religions whose aim was for the soul to escape this cosmos and to enter the superheavenly realm.